Hello everyone. Today, sorry I'm huffing and puffing. I'm just so tired. But anyway, but we're pushing through. Anyway, so today, by the way, my name is Lisa Jen. Hello. But today, I, um, God. Sorry. So today, the YouTube video that I wanted to make and, all that jazz, is about Harry Potter. So I haven't really made many like Harry Potter videos in a while, just because I've been on vacation and I've been thinking of other YouTube ideas. But I definitely did wanted to get back to it because I love Harry Potter and it is who I am at this point. And if you don't like Harry Potter, then hey, I get you. But not everyone's type of tea, but for me, I really do love it. So, anyway, but the character that we're going to be talking about today is Ronald Weasley, or Ron. And it's super interesting because, like I said before, I've talked about Harry Potter, the chosen one. I've also talked about Hermione. So it's kind of cool to kind of talk about that friend group. I mean, it's not cool because obviously the main three characters, but you know what I mean. Like it's kind of a nice circle of people to talk about. And what I mean by is, so Harry Potter, like I said before, he is very Gryffindor-y. Like the if you guys don't remember that hat, or I'm just gonna say the hat because I can't remember, but the hat that tells, or the housing hat that tells them each houses. At first he was like maybe Slytherin because, like I said before, or if you remember in the series, Harry Potter, he does have a gift to talk to snakes, which not many people actually have that gift, so it's a pretty rare gift, so of course he has to have it. But he really wanted to be in Gryffindor, and I think they made a good choice for him because he is a very a Gryffindor character. He's not necessarily Hufflepuff, because Gryffindor and Hufflepuff can kind of cross sides in a lot of ways, can kind of meet, can kind of see eye to eye in a lot of ways. But I think it is wise that he was a Gryffindor because he definitely is that very heroic type of character, very leaderish, but not in an arrogant way, and a very, I don't know how to explain it really. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's just very typical type of Gryffindor, if that makes sense, And then Hermione, they were deciding either Ravenclaw or Gryffindor, and well, of course, she went with Gryffindor. I mean, and it's interesting with Ravenclaw because she is very intellectual and she is very smart, but like I said, and I've been going to be talking with a lot of these characters, her core is also not necessarily to lead, but kind of that being in the front lines and being able to save people, and kind of like a Hufflepuff, but more out there. And then Ron, he Gryffindor type of character, and I mean he's not really arrogant type of character, because a lot of Gryffindors can be arrogant for sure, like Harry Potter's dad, for example. But he definitely has that very Gryffindorous to him, and I mean most of his family is, I mean he's pure blood, so obviously most of his family is, and if you don't know what pure blood means, it basically means that your whole family, and that you're born from wizards. Same with Harry, except because he was orphaned, he had to, someone had to raise him, so his Muggle family raised him. So in a way, if he was with his parents, he would kind of be considered pure blood, but actually he's actually a half-blood, so that's really interesting. So we have a half-blood, we have Muggle-born because Hermione was born from and her whole family are non-wizards, but she learned how to be a wizard because she's that person, you know, persevere, you know. And then Ron is pureblood, so literally his whole world is being magical and being magician and just just that world. So yeah, and so it's a really kind of interesting dynamic in my opinion. Obviously I will be talking more about Ron the later we go with this video, but especially for the beginning of this video I do kind of want to more talk about their friendship and kind of how they correlate with each other and how similar they are but also very different they are as well, and how different perspectives they give to the friendship and they give to each other, you know. And it is really interesting because they, like I said, they do have 3 type of perspectives of life, 3 type of different backgrounds, and 3 types of skill level as well, which, you know, makes sense. And they're all from the same class, so which is very interesting. And so it's kind of where I'm going with this. It's kind of interesting because it's like Hermione, if you think about it, in the bloodline. Like I said before, Harry Potter, their whole thing is kind of about. So you know how in our world we're all like about money and like who has the bigger status and etc. It's kind of like that in the Harry Potter world, except it's with bloodline, which is super weird. Like, okay, J.K. Rowling, what the hell? Yeah, but it's definitely J.K. Rowling, the one that made the series. But yeah, they really like to talk about bloodlines and like kind of the status of your bloodline. So like if you have, for example, and what I mean by pureblood and half-blood and, you know, muggle-born, and like I explained a little bit before, but pureblood is kind of where you want to be, which is weird in my opinion because it's like you don't really choose what family you're gonna be in, which is kind of sad if you think about it, especially if you are like muggle-born. You didn't choose to be muggle-born, you're just muggle-born, but still people fraught on you because you're muggle-born. It's like, what the hell, you know? So yeah, and so pureblood in a lot of ways is like the good, is like being in the green light, you know, being with the elites, you know, kind of that type of thing. While with being muggle-born, it's kind of like being considered scum. It's kind of being considered like, what is it called? It's kind of being like a nobody in the magical world. Well, half-blood is interesting, or yeah, it's because half-blood is where you're part magical, but you're also part non-magical. So you're kind of part of the elites, but you're also kind of not. So, and I kind of forgot to talk about this. I can't believe I forgot to talk about this in the last 2 videos of Harry and Hermione. Like I said, this is kind of a recap, if you will, from those 2 videos and from this video, and just, you know, kind of telling that whole thing. But it's interesting because if you think about it, Hermione's muggle-born, Harry is half-blood, and which there's a book called Half-Blood, so it makes sense. And Ron is pureblood. So if you think about it, I'm sorry, I'm going to be psychological here for a second, but Ron is actually part of the elites, or kind of, you know, part of the more like accepted when it comes to the magical world. And then Harry, he's kind of partly accepted, but not completely. Like, there are still going to be haters out there, but like, I mean, every person's gonna have hater, but like he's kind of in the middle. He's kind of in the middle, so it's like he is somewhat accepted in the magical world, but he doesn't completely understand, or like he's not completely diverse into it until, you know, if you guys remember, if you watched the series where Hagrid gave him the letter and like, Harry, you are a wizard, and he's like, what? You know, Such an infamous line, by the way. But yeah, and then Hermione is Muggleborn, which is, like I said, scum, nothing. And so it's super interesting that, like, with Harry, he knows nothing about the magical world, and he doesn't know anything, like, why he can talk to snakes, why he's like this and like this and like this, because no one ever told him, because it was like this whole secret. And also because his cousins and aunts didn't want him to be magical, because in their opinion being magical is like scorned upon. And so when he finally does receive the letter, when he knows who he is actually, he's like, what? And it kind of like changes his whole perspective on everything. Like he has like this whole perspectival shift, or I can't really remember the psychological term for it, but like he has this whole like shift perspectively and like on life and like who he is as a person and what he is. And then also add to that he's a celebrity in the magical world, because of what happened with Voldemort and his parents, and to him, he kind of became a celebrity out of that, which is super interesting. Like such a terrible thing happened to him, but still something somewhat good happened to him after. So it's like, what, And then Ron is kind of, because he's more of the elites, he's more accepted. He doesn't have to work as hard, and for him, it's just kind of normal. And not that I'm saying that's a bad thing, but because of that, he doesn't really get to the level, or like he does become obviously a professional magician, like they all three of them, but he's not as Noritized, or he's not as like considered a celebrity, or he's not really considered like, oh my god, what type of figure, because like for him, everything in his life is kind of easy. I mean, like everything that he's just went through. I mean, like obviously being friends with Harry and also being friends with Hermione does, have his setbacks, of course, but for the most part, especially in his younger life, he didn't really have as a, traumatic or as crazy of as a backstory as Hermione and Harry. So for him, he's almost kind of pampered in a lot of ways, and he sees life in a more easy breezy way, and which explains so much about his character as well. He's a very like easy type of breezy type of character, very comedic, very light-hearted, and obviously everyone has their pros and cons. I'm not saying that his life was, completely simple, but from Harry and Hermione's, type of backstory and what they've been through, and especially with Harry, like his life is a lot more like breathable, if you will. And so I think that's another reason why he just suited Gryffindor, was first of all because his family was Gryffindor, so like he cannot not be Gryffindor, right? But also like his just perspective of life and his perspective of himself is very like Gryffindor-y. So, and then I forgot to mention this in Hermione's video, but Hermione, because she is Muggle-born, I mean, obviously she doesn't have as a traumatic past as Harry, but like if you consider like status-wise and like consider magician-wise, she definitely has a harder way to go, and she has a lot more work to do than her other partners in crime, her friends. And so because of that, which you can clearly tell with her character that she's such a workaholic, and she's a bit of a know-it-all, which makes sense, because like she literally had to work for how do I explain, like she like everything that she got, she had to work for it. Like literally, like how she came to Hogwarts was because she worked her butt off. She read all the magical books. She like literally like diverged herself in that world, which by the way no one really knows, or I don't know, maybe there are some people out there, definitely comment down below if you know, but I don't really know how she even figured out about the magical world, or like how they don't even say this in the books. I don't think they do. I don't remember, like I said, but like she like I just don't I don't think they ever really explain like how she figured out that she was a magician, and how her parents even figured out about the magical world, because like I said, they're both non-magicians. So that's definitely a big thing for me anyway, with her character, is like just that type of like hole in her story, is like, how did she figure it out about that, and how and why? Obviously she wants to be a magician, she loves it, I get that part, but it's just like, how did she figure that out? And like how did that, like, I don't get that. Like, they don't really, like I said, also Hermione and Ron, they don't really talk much about their past. They more talk about Harry Potter, so like, makes sense. But I would definitely like to figure that out, because like I still get confused about that. So yeah, but that's a question for, so if anyone reads the series, and if maybe remembers, or if there's like lore about it, definitely tell me, because I really don't know about that. I'm confused about that. So yeah, but anyway, back to her like story, or like what I remember of the story anyway. Yeah, and like for her, she's kind of like that. She perseveres and she works hard and she does everything the best that she can do. And I think, I think there's another reason why she is considered a know-it-all, or why Snape considers her a know-it-all, is because of just how hardworking she is, and how confident she is in what she knows, And I think also another reason why she sometimes snaps at Harry, or sometimes snaps at Ron, because she's just like, how do you not know these things? How do you not know these things? And Ron, first of all, he's a bit pampered, and Harry, and also because Ron's that type of character, he's a little bit of Naruto. He's a little bit like a Naruto character, if you've watched anime before, or if you guys do watch anime. He is that kind of character. Not that obnoxious, of course, he is definitely tolerable, but he's that kind of character. And then Harry, of course, he doesn't really know, because he's still kind of, especially in the first books, he's still kind of new to the whole magical world, because literally no one told him. Like, ugh, I hate that. By the way, sorry, tangent. I don't really like when they don't tell the main characters that they're like magicians or ninjas, or like these, like, that they're like their real stories. Like, I hate that they have to put them in the dark. I mean, sometimes I get it, but it's just like, oh, you realize you're gonna traumatize him after this. You realize that, right? But yeah, and she's just a very, very hardworking character, and just, I don't know, just somebody, I guess that's also why I really like her as a character, is just because of how hardworking she is, and of how like confident she is, and of how confident you have to be when you are kind of considered like different, or when you're considered the minority in like a world, which I definitely respect. Definitely. I mean, don't be mean to people, but you know what I mean. So, but yeah, and so that's kind of their friendship, and that's kind of what I've noticed with all three of them. Now, getting more into Ron, I do definitely think, I mean, like, through the books, he definitely grows as a character. He definitely becomes more mature. But especially in the first books, I do feel like he has a very fun, very like, oh, I got this under the bag type deal. I mean, he's a great friend, of course. He is in a lot of ways a comedic relief for Harry, and the bickering between Hermione and Ron are always very cute. Makes sense why they got together. They did, which is adorable. I did ship them for sure. And yeah, and he's just an amazing, in my opinion, support character, because he's not as chaotic, because he's not as as traumatized than most of the characters, especially in the friend group. He's a lot more, not always relatable, but he is more, I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know how you can count reliability. Maybe some people can relate to him, maybe some can't. But he's definitely more of the like normal character, if you will, in the series. He definitely or not normal necessarily, but he's definitely like more non-conflictical, and I guess that is why a lot of people like him and why a lot of people draw to him, and why he kind of in a way grounds the show, grounds the franchise, and kind of grounds the friendship of Harry, and just the bromance of him and Harry. He really kind of, because like if like going back to Harry, if you've noticed, Harry, he barely ever smiles. Like, he's so grim throughout the whole series, which, I mean, makes sense, of course, like what he's gone through. It's, how can you not be grim, right? But but he does, how do I explain this? But I do think that Ron kind of is that person, that character that knows how to make people kind of get out of their grimness in a way, or temporarily get out of their grimness. And he really, you can really see that when they're together, and it's so cute. And I think they're just such a great pair of dudes, great pair of friends. And I mean, just with everyone that Ron is with, but especially with Harry. And also, I've also noticed that, like, because Ron is more non-conflictical, if you will, he, like, every time they get, like, in confrontation with Draco Malfoy, Harry is always kind of the one to, like, defend Ron. He's always the one to, like, stand, kind of be his bodyguard, if you will, or, like, kind of be his warrior, because like I said before, Harry, he is more of the leader type, but in a more, like, humbled way, and more a way where he feels like he has to be the leader, like he feels like it has to be, right? And that's what I feel like with their friendship, is that Ron, he's kind of like the backbone, like Harry, he's kind of the face, while Ron's kind of his backbone. And I think that's, and now that I say that, it makes, a lot of sense to why Harry grows and develops, and why Ron grows and develops, is because they have each other. And I think that's kind of the beautiful sentiment, and just the beautiful, I think, in general, like, what friendship can do, and not even in Harry Potter, I think in any story, and just with anybody that has a friend, I feel like we kind of, I'm getting sentimental here, I'm getting wispy, but we kind of, especially if you have good friends, we kind of influence each other, and we kind of develop each other into who we become in the future. And I think that's another reason why so many parents are just like, be with the right people, because in all reality, humans are, crowd type of people, and if we don't have the good people around us, we don't become the good people that we can be in the future. So, and I think that's really what I wanted to talk about with Ron, and why I was talking more about not only Ron, but Ron and friendship, because Ron, because he's not the main character, and because he's more of the side character, or supporting character, he's not really portrayed as much. So because of that, he's more portrayed with the friend group. And I think that's really what I wanted to talk about, is how he, and to be honest, that's kind of, I've noticed his core value is that he needs friendship, he wants friendship, he influences friendship. And I think that's what it really does show in the series, and what I think just makes this series even more beautiful, and why I think Ron is just such an essential character, especially for Hermione and especially for Harry. So yeah, that is what I wanted to talk about Ron, and about friendship, and about beautifulness. Sorry, this got really sentimental in the end, but I do hope you like it, and